because it was still telling me that I couldn't. All right, so now I request where?
Oh, you don't? Okay, you come back in.
Where's the request button? I don't like the way that request is at the top. All right, now I'm here. Request to join. Request to join.
Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. We just
Why is not
getting
giving me
anything.
to join?
Getting,
Sorry.
oh no, you're good. We just the good sister Nubia Ra is coming on here on IG Live. So you know, while we do that, please go ahead and share this with the folks. Also follow both of us, please. And like it. It's going to help out tremendously. Pushing it out everywhere. The good sister should be on here on a few moments. Oh, there she is.
Mhm. We did it.
That's it. Y'all don't even know. We had a battle with the devil a little while ago. Boy, I tell you.
Yes.
But peace, ascension, gratitude, all that good stuff. Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. We back at it again with another amazing guest. Very excited to talk to this good sister. And as you all know, Polka Dot Rabbit podcast is here. We are here to uplift humanity. In addition, we are here to assist in getting information out to these um, uh, woolly head zombies, melanated zombies that have been asleep for quite a while and now are slowly starting to wake up because of this day and time we're in. So, just doing my part to assist in aiding that. Okay. Um, that's it. If you haven't already, go to and I appreciate y'all. Y'all been really. I appreciate y'all going to the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast.com, checking my book, Bicultural Living and Leaving the World of Illusions. Yep, that's me. See, there we go. That's me. See. Um, that's it for me. I'm gonna let this good sister tell you who she is, what she does, and et cetera, et cetera. So peace, please, sis. Go ahead.
Peace, everyone. Peace and blessings. So, my name is Nubia Ra. I have a company called Goddess Mindz, where I guide women through reprogramming their subconscious mind and heal their inner child. And I do this with simple rituals and techniques that help strengthen and the power of belief that's inside of them, which then allows them to intentionally create their own reality. So, a lot of times we think that it is the tool or the ritual that actually helps us to believe, but it's really inside of us. But until you can grasp a hold of the power inside of you, sometimes you need simple techniques that can help guide you there. And that's pretty much my spiel. I have a book coming out soon. I'm gonna say soon, soonish. It's in like the editing phase, and I'm really excited about that. It's been a labor of love, and I'm taking my time, but I also want to get it out there because I know spirit likes movement, and the universe likes us to move when we have ideas. So
Okay.
stay tuned for that.
Okay. That's dope. So, um, I know we were just talking earlier. Like, I always like to talk about like people's or ask, I should say, about people's like the background when it comes up, kind of growing up and get a how they how their spiritual journey was. Could you kind of talk about your spiritual journey? How you got here today?
Mhm. Okay, so I was raised in a Christian household. So my father was a pastor. My mother was on the worship team. I went to a church that was non-denominational. So it was very. I had a lot of experience in the spirit realm. So a lot of things of speaking in tongues and things of that sort, which I come later to find that that's just your ancient tongue, your ancient language that we all possess. But I was raised to believe that the kingdom of God was within. And so that for me was really, really big. And even as I got older and I started looking for more truths and really knowing myself and finding the knowledge within, it already clicked in me because that's what I was taught. I was taught that, know ye not that ye are gods. So that we are creators. So
Mm-hmm.
those things that a lot of times people overlook, those passages in the Bible, or that they don't really want to connect with because they think it's blasphemy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that, at least that inner knowing. And I think that's what, for me, that kept me searching and looking for the truth for more truth and to continue to uncover the depths and the layers of myself within. Because when I was looking outside for things, it was like I could never find it. But then when I started
Hmm.
to go inside internally and really connect with my spirit and God within me, the kingdom of God, that's when everything started clicking. People that I needed to come into my life to kind of teach me things would find themselves, I'd find myself in front of them. So that's my background, but it is a Christian background.
Okay. Yeah, join the club. I think that story that you just told, I'm sure a lot of people can share that experience. Now, and this is another question. Were you were you the black sheep of the family, or were you like kind of like were you the one that you were kind of like, well, ma, dad, y'all saying all this stuff, but I mean, was it anything like that or
Um, I would say that yes, I am the black sheep of the family because I think
how
differently.
did I know?
Even now, when I speak, like even though I'm still speaking the things of the Bible, but it's just a little bit different spin on
Yeah.
it, and it's still
Hmm.
like you sound right, but I don't know. It's just not what I'm used to hearing. So
Hmm.
yeah, the black sheep.
Was
But I
it
don't like to
like
call it black sheep. I like it
was
to
it
call it the trailblazer. I'm the trailblazer.
travel? Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I'll take that too. You know what I'm saying? Um, was it pretty much was it a certain time frame when you just really started asking questions? Was it the whole time? Was it like, was it like like your teenage years where you're like, Mom, I don't really know about this, like, or was it kind of like just were you always inquisitive?
I was always inquisitive, but I always had this inner knowing that there was more than
Mm-hmm.
this. There was more than just
Mm-hmm.
going to church, paying tithes. It was more than like the materialistic thing of
Yes.
Christianity and the looks and the appearance. And so it was about 9 years ago when I was like, all right, I had did what was it's called an internship at a place called the International House of Prayer. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess what really used to turn me off is when I would hear people speak as though they had all the knowledge, all the truth, and anyone else that wasn't believing what they believed
Mm-hmm.
was kind of doing it wrong. And that would turn my spirit. And I'm like, this ain't right. And I was like, because obviously God's ways are higher than our ways. He knows more than we know. So how can we say we have it all when we haven't even
Mm-hmm.
scratched the surface? Because I don't see anybody doing the works that Jesus did. So until you get
Mm-hmm.
there, you haven't even scratched the surface. So how can we say
Mm-hmm.
we have all the truth? And so that sent me off on a journey where I stopped going to church and I started reading more books that I would never pick up before. And, listening to people like Bobby Hemmett and
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Valentine, Red Pill and Blue Pill, and, just learning the other side of the metaphysical realm and, how we are spirit beings and we have energy. And, because we believe that, okay, as a Christian, you're not dying to go to heaven. So clearly we already believe your energy lives on. But it was
Mm-hmm.
the way that it was taught, which kind of kept us stuck and bound in a certain way of thinking, even though it really was the same thing. It's because
Mm-hmm.
energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So once I went on that journey, I I ended up my last relationship. He kind of introduced me to a lot of the metaphysical books and things of that sort, and things that I would never like. I was like, oh, I don't tarot cards and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't believe in that stuff. And or the chakras, like I thought those were bad. Like because
Mm-hmm.
when you grow up, I learned personally that yoga was bad, that it was
Mm-hmm.
demonic, and so like I started exploring with yoga and experimenting with the chakras, and I'm like, how could this something that actually helps you? How could that be bad? And I was like, something ain't making sense here. So I said, there's a lot of mistruths in the Bible. There's a ton of truth, but there's also a lot
Mm-hmm.
of illusion and things are taken out of place because it's running out of context. Um, and so for me, that's what sent me on my journey. Sent me on my journey, and it's just
Yeah,
to live out my purpose, to walk out my purpose. That's what sent me on my journey.
dogma is a powerful drug. Stay, you know, keep it alone. Stay away from it. When this is
Yes,
your mind, they should have changed that commercial back in the 80s, whatever, when they had the egg frying. It said, "This is your brain on drugs. This is your brain on
mm,
dogma or
brain on thought.
religion." You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a but it has its good purposes as well. It's just a matter because, like I was saying, a lot of us we went good thing I liked about I still like in a I love the Bible, I love the Quran, I love the Torah because there, like you said, there's a lot of good truths in there. And once
Mhm.
you start to really get into the ancient language and really see the true stories, then you're like, oh, okay, well, this is make even more sense. You know what I'm saying? Um, Yeah, so and as you like you talking earlier, we're dealing like with rituals and power. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that Bible's a very powerful book if you know how to use it and
Yeah,
utilize it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so you get to a certain point, you know what I'm saying, and you got. Did you have a specific aha moment when you were like, oh man, this is, this I got to go in a different direction, because I know there's way more out here than this. Well, was it like a culmination? Was it kind of building up to it, or was there something that really hit you? And you were like, no, I gotta.
So for me, it was a buildup, but my final aha moment was when I mentioned I did the internship at the International House of Prayer,
Uh
and
huh.
it was the feeling as though it was kind of occultish in a way, and it was like this ain't it. Like there's got to be more to this because my spirit is unsettled when I'm here, and it shouldn't feel that way. And one thing I've always prided myself on is my connection to spirit, is my ability to hear from spirit and actually allow that to help me dictate my life. And so when I have certain feelings, I'm like, okay, it's time to go a different way. Spirit was pushing me, but he couldn't push me there until I was ready. Because
Yeah.
before I was like, yeah, I felt like, okay, well, if I'm not going the route of the Christian route, that basically my life is not going to work out because I'm basically sinning against God and nothing's going to work out. So I had to get past that point and that
Yeah.
that dogma, right? That
Mhm.
basically says if you're out of the will of God, then basically nothing's going to happen. But what they didn't tell us is we create our own reality from
Yeah.
our thoughts and our words and our actions, and the fact that we are creators. We are gods, not the God, but we are gods. And
Yeah.
so we have the power that our creator gave us, which is to speak and be. Speak and it be, right? Speak and it is. So
Mhm.
that was what I had to really come into a internal knowing of and
Mhm.
understanding, not just knowing it from here, like, oh yeah, the Bible says this, but
Yeah.
I'm not really showing any fruits of what I say I believe.
Mhm.
And that's
So,
kind
and I see your yeah, I see your name, Nubia Ra. Was it when did you start to get introduced or feel a connection to ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet? Well, what is, how did that link?
so it was about 2 years ago. I had started a line called Nubia Organics, and I don't really know where it came from. It just came from in meditation. And
Mhm.
then it was about last September, I went to a retreat. And at that retreat, we talked about finding your name. Now, before that, I had been introduced to status correction. I'm not sure if you're
Okay.
familiar, but
Mhm.
I've been thinking about an appellation and things of that sort. And at that retreat, that's when my name came. My name came to me. I was like, okay, this is my name. Nubia is my name,
Mhm.
and Ra was kind of just was something that was already in the works there, and I kind of connected with it, and so it became
Mhm.
Nubia.
Okay. All right. So self name, correct?
Stop name, yes.
Okay. All right. Hey, shoot. Like you said that, this you got that power in you. Ain't no better way to, name somebody than yourself, right? That's dope.
I mean,
Okay.
my name, the meaning of my birth name, I love, but I'll say it. My birth name is Tiffany, which means manifestation of God, and my
Mhm.
middle name is Danielle, which means God is my judge, and both of those
Mhm.
names fit me very well. However, I always felt like my sister, her name is Kanisha, and I'm like, oh, she got this cool African name, and I got Tiffany, and so I kind of always had a little conflict with it anyway, so it wasn't that hard for me to accept my name of Nubia.
That's amazing. That's pretty dope. Okay. So now we're walking here. So, you were trailblazers, you said, now you're starting to get a connection to ancient Egypt. Now, before we came on, you were talking about like different books you read and about the subconscious. Can we kind of can you talk about how you started really connected to see how powerful the subconscious mind, what type of books it was that you were reading, and how you were able to see the manifestation of it in your own works?
Yeah, so the very first book that I read, it was about 7.5 years ago, which was The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And because the way that he wrote it and he used scripture to kind of drive his point home, it was a very easy transition for me and it clicked
Mm-hmm.
very well. And I was like, this is what I've been feeling in my spirit, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to really articulate. And
Mm-hmm.
let me shut my window because the neighbors maybe. I'm not sure if y'all can hear that. Okay, so
I
so
thought you
that
were
was
talking in tongues, so thanks for clarifying that.
that was the book for me. It was The Power of the Subconscious Mind. That was really the first one and the only one I had read for a while. And it was enough because I was digesting it and I was really kind of mulling it over. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was still reading the Bible at the time. So, but it was that book that really pushed me.
And what were the type of connections that you saw in the scriptures to what he was saying? Could you like what was it? What was it that it just made sense of the connection of your real life experience to the scripture? You know what I mean? Like what was the connection? What were the bridges?
So it really, really made sense just because of, let me see if I can pull out an example for you. So when he talks about, there's a part in there when he talks about even about the spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I always knew, okay, when we were created, it says that God breathed the breath of life in us and we
Mm-hmm.
became a living, breathing soul.
Mm-hmm.
And that breath of life, I connected it to prana, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
everything around you. It's your breath, it's your chi. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're breathing shallow, you're less connected to spirit. But when you actually are breathing the way that you're supposed to breathe and you're taking those deep breaths, you are connected more to spirit and the most high. And you're able to kind of hear and get, and it could be it's your higher self too. Like I speak about God, but God is inside you. So it's the God inside you, the internal higher self that is actually connected when you are breathing properly. So it was
Mm-hmm.
things like that that really hit home. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as speaking things and letting it be, like speaking it and it is. If I say that I'm going to be a best-selling author that makes six figures a month from book sales and speaking engagements, then I have to know that internally and feel that. I can't just say it with my mind. I have to say it
Mm-hmm.
with my emotion. I have to emotionalize it in order for it to be, right? Because a lot of times people will say things out of their mouth, but they're thinking and feeling a different way. And that's when scripture says you become a double-minded man, unstable in all your
Mm-hmm.
ways. Think you will have nothing basically. Because when you connect it to your subconscious mind only knows what you tell it as truth. So if I'm telling it one thing, but I'm feeling something else, it's confused now. It doesn't know what to go do. So you get nothing. You get unanswered prayers. And that's why there's a lot of people walking around with unanswered prayers and they've been praying the same prayer for decades, but then it never manifests because they've missed a couple of pieces that weren't taught to them in church. And a lot
Yeah.
of it is the feeling, the emotion. We need those emotions to fuel our thoughts to actually create things into reality.
And this is a it's and it's interesting what you were just saying about how you started getting introduced to like people like Bobby Hemmett. So when you start when you started hearing people like Bobby Hemmett talk, you know what I mean, and coming from your background, prior, what was was it like initial shock? Was it like were you like, oh my God, what this got to be crazy? Yeah, how was that?
And see, I've always had an open mind, even though I was
Okay.
raised in church. I wasn't so closed off. But when I heard Bobby Hemmett talk, I'm like, this man is making a lot of sense. So, because he's really the first one that I listened to that got me to understand about even reincarnation, things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm,
like, so, and then what it hit me was like, if you really think about it, if we believe that as Christians that we die and go to heaven, which means our
mm-hmm.
energy is still living on, that's in a
Mm-hmm.
sense a form of reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just told to you differently. So I'm like,
Yeah.
this just makes sense. And then when I started
Mm-hmm.
like hearing him speak about, things and like some of the ancient things, and I'm like, there's so much mistruths that we were given. And when you really sit
Yeah.
there and think about it, like, why would your slave master give you the full truth?
Mm.
And that's the one thing that many don't want to think about because they say, oh, well, if it wasn't for the Bible, it wasn't for, we wouldn't have Jesus. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
same people that were hanging your ancestors were worshiping Jesus, and so was the one hanging on a tree. So clearly, God don't like black people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
their God. Yeah, their
Jesus ain't
God don't like that. Yeah.
your Jesus. Jesus ain't your God.
Hmm.
That's their God. And it's almost like when you start to realize that their God was our devil,
Yeah.
and when you put it that way, it's like, okay, yeah. And so to me, things now just make sense.
Hmm.
I mean, even though I came from Christianity, it just makes sense when I looked at it from even that little small standpoint. Like, they would not give us the truth because the truth would set us free fully, and we wouldn't have been sitting there docile on the plantation. We would have had many, many revolts, even though we did, but we would have done it more often. We wouldn't have been stuck and complacent. So people need to think about that. When they didn't let you read certain books, they gave you the slave Bible. They didn't even give you the real truth. We don't even have the real truth.
Yeah.
Once I found out there was an Ethiopian Bible, and there's but books of the Bible that are missing, and it's
Hmm.
like, this is why they left it in there. Some of it, they have to leave the remedy. They can't take everything out. They can dilute it and give you an illusion and keep you on a wild goose chase, but they have to leave certain truths in there. And so this is why scripture says, study to show thyself approved, right?
Yeah.
So you can
It's
find.
interesting you say that. Like, it's real interesting, and I like that because you're talking about the Bible and you talk about Kemet. Because I remember, I guess it was probably early 2000s. I read a book called Dr. York wrote a book called Jesus Found in Egypt, right?
Mhm.
And when I read it, I was like, it cracked my skull wide open because it broke down how every aspect of what we learn in Christianity was already here in Egypt. Every
Mhm.
aspect of it. It changed, but like even like the Trinity, you know what I mean? But it was a quantity, but it's still the Trinity was still, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, all that stuff was already in Kemet, and they just stole it and made their own whack version of it.
That part, the own white version. Seriously, like, there was a YouTube video that I watched that kind of broke down. It was like basically every culture has a story of Jesus, like the Jesus's
Hmm.
birth, the Virgin Mary,
Hmm.
and all that. And it's like, where'd they get that from? You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
like they got it from us, and it's written on our
Hmm.
walls, etched in stone. So it's like,
Yeah.
how can you deny something that's right there,
Yeah.
etched in stone?
It not to get too all religiousified and stuff, but since we're on the topic, but it's one of the things that really also hit me, like more so I traveled around and travel around different places, is like you said, a lot of this stuff is written in stone, and a lot of this stuff you can actually physically see. You know what I'm saying? You can see remnants of, Samaria. You can see pyramids in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? You can even see tombs of people with their
Yeah.
skin. But when it comes to Bible stuff, like vast majority of the thing, you can't even find nobody.
Mm-mm.
You
The
know what I'm
fact that
saying?
you can't find the ark, and that ark was supposed to be huge, so there's
Yeah,
no real.
you know what I'm saying? And it goes on and on.
Yeah.
And like last night we had a good conversation. We were like talking about slavery and stuff. It's like, God dang, all them slave people, where are the slave boats? You know what I'm saying? From, all the, you know what I'm
I
saying?
was
Like
trying to
for
figure
real.
that one out too. Like, there's no way you
Yeah,
could
you
have
know what I'm
brought all
saying?
of them from over here. We were here. You might have brought some, but you didn't bring them all. There's no way. There's
Yeah,
just no
yeah,
way.
exactly, exactly. Well, all the boats, they had to be like, God dang, Walmart need to be making, they had to have like a big Walmart, giant Walmart store just full of boats. The people would be like, all right,
Mhm.
let me pick that one. Let me pick that one. We're gonna go over to Africa. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, okay. So we got all past the that interesting religious talk. Now you get past to the point you're like, yo, something is really out here, and I'm starting to connect the dots. So when did you get to the point when you were like, yo, I got to do something about this. I got to make a company. How did you transition from that into your business and et cetera?
Yeah. So for me, so I lost my father when I was 7 years old, and I later learned on in my adult life that was kind of the catalyst for some of the relationships that I chose. Right. Um,
Mm,
my first relationship was 7 years. I had two long-term relationships. So one, but I've dated other people in between, but two long-term relationships, and they ended up being on the same frequency in a way. One might have been a little bit, higher frequency, but still it kind of ended in that same frequency. And I was like, what? I was trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
mm-hmm.
Something's got to change. Something's got to be different. And so the last one made me really reflect on myself and realize that, okay, for one, you were looking for your dad, the love of your dad that you lost, right? But it took me to be an adult to even understand that and know that no matter how many, my mother couldn't teach me that. It was something that just had to be
Mm-hmm.
experienced, right?
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I was forced to kind of fall in love with myself, to learn myself and
Mm-hmm.
to know myself, right? Because I was looking for other people to fill that void. And that's kind of really what sent me on my catalyst, was like, okay, something's got to change. And that was it. I was like, all right, let me just go dig deep and really find the truth, find myself, and find the
Mm-hmm.
God within and go from there. And so when that happened, I, this is about 3 years, 4 years now. Some ups and downs, but last year, New Year's Eve is when I created my course for Goddess Mindz. And I created it in one day, like spirit just gave it to me and I wrote it out and I'm like, okay. And then I sat on it for a while and I'm like, mm, am I qualified? All those thoughts that come up in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, if I say that I'm a god or a goddess and I say that I have all this creative power, how am I doubting myself?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that in itself too pushed me to keep going because I'm like, I'm knowing this stuff, but I'm still not knowing it here. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
internally feeling it. So I said, what do I need to do to get to that place where I internally feel it, that I know without a shadow of doubt that whatever I speak and whatever I set my hand to do prospers and I create. And so that's kind of what got me on my path. And I realized that there are a lot of women out there that are like me or have similar experiences that I can relate to that may not know exactly what I've learned through my experience, which applied now becomes my wisdom. And so that's kind of what set me on my passion.
Okay. Now, okay, so let's talk about your passion. Okay. Could you kind of go into more detail exactly, once you put all that get together, what came out of that,
Yeah.
could you go into like detail, what specifically you do and how it all came together and what you're doing now?
So what I specifically do now is it's a 4-week course that I created, which is to take women through um, one releasing, right? So um, detoxing and reprogramming the mind and healing the inner child.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you really can't do one without the other because to
Mm-hmm.
even really get into the mind state to even be able to reprogram your mind, you have to detox the body because there's certain foods and hormones and things of that sort that get in the way of your thinking, right? And if you
Mm-hmm.
have parasites in your body, those are going to control a lot of times your mind, your thoughts, your food cravings. So for me, it is a mind, body, and soul concept
Mm-hmm.
because everything has to be aligned in order for you to truly be walking in your God frequency, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that was the premise of it. I'm like, well, what did I do in order for me to kind of come into this inner knowing? Well, I had to start changing my diet, and I started to
Mm-hmm.
look. And I'm gonna take it back to scripture because I started to look at the life of Jesus. He fasted a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
when you fast, that actually heightens your senses and it gives you a stronger connection to spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like this blueprint that he kind of left, he was not.
Mm-hmm.
I always say he wasn't leading us to him; he was leading us to the Most High. He was
Yeah,
showing us how to
exactly.
connect. And so it's that blueprint that we still should follow because whenever someone would ask him, are you the son of God? He would always ask, who do you say I am? And even when scripture said he may have healed somebody, he would always ask, do you believe that you can be healed? And if they said
Mm-hmm.
yes, like your
Mm-hmm.
faith made you whole. So it was
Yep.
never him. It was always the mind of the person
Mm-hmm.
that healed them. And so
Yeah.
when I looked at that, I'm like, okay, everything is literally you, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
all from
Exactly.
you. Everything that you experience is something that you created. And I know a lot of times people say that, okay, I'm a product of my environment. And that might be so. But I always feel like once you have the awareness to say that you're a product of your environment, you've been actually gifted the chance to write another script. So this is not to say that there aren't external forces that have a hand in your internal compass and how your life turned out, but you
Mm-hmm.
always have the opportunity to change it if you
Mm-hmm.
really want. And this is why there are some people who can overcome so many obstacles and create the life that they want, because you have two types of people, right? There's some people who are going to fold at pressure, and whatever life gives them, they kind of just crumble. And then you have those who overcome it. And they might keep overcoming things and have different mountains and obstacles, but they're going to keep overcoming that. And it all has to do with what's going on internally with them. And it's what they believe. And so those things for me, it was just like, okay, I am who I say I am. And that's kind of, I was like, all right, I want to be able to help women who know they have a purpose, and they want to turn maybe the pain that they've been through, they want to turn that into a purpose, and even into being able to help others. I mean, my story is deep. I have a lot of other things that I've overcome, but just from that aspect, I'm like, I know my pain has purpose. So I know that other people walking out here and other women, their pain has purpose, because we all have a purpose, and we all
Mm-hmm.
have to find our place. And this is our whole purpose in life, is to find our purpose on this earth and actually walk it out. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like until you can truly do that and say that you're walking in your purpose, you're never really going to be happy.
Yeah.
You're going to always just be fighting against the grain and searching.
And searching. Yep. And searching. Yep. That's so. How did like some like whatever bad things, traumatic things in the past? How did did how did they line up with your therapy like today, or your what you have going on today?
So, one of the things for me was learning how to combat the negative self talk. And a lot of
Okay.
times, that self talk may come up from, maybe circumstances you overcome in life, or maybe people who have spoken things into your life as, when you were growing up. Because they, like, what they say is the first 7 years of a child's life is very, very critical, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Aristotle who said, give me a child until age 7 and I'll show you the man. And
Mm-hmm.
that lets you know that what you were programmed with as a child kind of affects your adult life. It's like
Mm-hmm.
95% of your adult life is affected by um, what happened to you by age 7. And so as children, we literally just download everything as truth. And we don't really kind of differentiate if it's good, bad, should we put it in this category? It's okay, this is truth. And so for me, I felt like as a child, up until that age 7, that last year, maybe probably actually at age 6, because that's when my mother and my father kind of separated. But up until then, I knew my parents loved me. I knew my parents prayed for me. They wanted me. And I felt that loving relationship. I had no idea anything was kind of wrong. So at the age 7, that's when I feel like that fear of abandonment came in, that fear of not being good enough, and those like negative trapped emotions that come when you go through certain things. That's when those started to come in. But you don't know what you don't know. My mother didn't know what she didn't know. She only knew which was to go to church and pray about it. But if
Mm-hmm.
you need more tools than just praying about it. Unfortunately, like that's just what it is. Like you need more than just prayers. And so I lost my train of thought because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit.
No, no, you good. No, no, no. People are like, that that go. You good, man. You ain't rambling. I'll cut
What?
in when you're rambling. Don't worry.
No, I like that. Like, please don't yes woman me ever.
No,
Um,
no, 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 no. Not here.
from that is just learning that that programming that happened at that age affected me a lot. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was 11, I lost my brother. Right, 2 years later, from 3 years, 4 years later, my brother passed away. He got hit by a car on his bicycle, and that was a very traumatic event. My cousin was with him. He saw how what happened, and um, when I finally heard the story of kind of what happened, it shook me to my core. But for
Mm,
myself, when I got the call, I was I was I knew something wasn't right in my spirit,
mm-hmm.
and I was only 11. But me and my brother had a fight that day because he wasn't supposed to leave the house, and he was grounded, and he left anyways. And so, long story short, we get to the second hospital because they sent us to a different hospital because they had to send in the children's hospital, and they asked us if we wanted to go see the body because they were like, he's basically brain dead. If you guys try to keep him alive, he's gonna be a vegetable. And so we went in to view the body. And I've never ever smelled this again in my life, but I smelled this. It was like this spirit of death. I guess I can
Mm,
smell of death. And it was something that I'll never forget. And the look
mm,
that was on his face, it was almost as though like, why is this happening to me? Right? It was like
mm,
this look etched on his face. And I was like, I'll never forget that. And it was just, I think that too affected me a lot. But it's like I
mm-hmm.
didn't know. I really did not know until I got older.
At the
And you
time, yeah.
start trying to do your healing work and you're looking and you're doing the shadow work and you're trying to figure out, well, why am I feeling this way? What event
Mm-hmm.
have done this? It's like it's real work that you have to go
Yeah,
into you knowing yourself and healing. There's so many people don't even like to be alone with themselves. Like they don't
exactly.
want to sit in a dark room with themselves and really like look at all the ugliness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we always want to blame things on the devil. But no, the devil's in you.
Yeah,
You are
exactly.
light. You are good and bad. You're light, good and
And you got
evil.
to do the exorcism. You have to do the
Yeah,
exorcism.
you got to take
I mean, there's
control.
other tools and resources, but yeah, you have to do the exorcism.
Yeah, you have to make it submit. If not, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to keep taking over. And that's the thing is, we want someone else to fix it because that's kind of the programming that happened to us from slavery. Is like, okay, well,
Exactly.
we need a master to take care of this. We
Mm-hmm.
need Jesus to take care of it and come save
Mm-hmm.
us. Save
Mm-hmm.
yourself. That's why
Mm-hmm.
you're here. You've already been given the tools. This is
Yeah.
why God doesn't interfere with things going on the earth right now. He's like, I already gave you all the tools. What more do you want? Go do it. Go use them and heal yourself.
I think we're in a very interesting day and time because, and in all honesty, I gotta keep it real. I didn't think I'd be seeing what I'm seeing right now in the world and way how we are in the universe, but I'm happy I
Mm,
am. But it's real interesting because, like, when you're talking about everything, you're talking about internal, how we're gods and etc. And I remember Professor James Small once said something. He said something like, "You black people today are not who you used to be." you
mm,
know and for him to say that, and me to kind of go back in my memory banks of all those different books I read from all these master teachers talking about where we were and who we were and the things we accomplished, and I'm like, damn, he is 100% right. And the beautiful thing about all this is that we're starting to remember. We were last night, me and the chief nighthawk, we were going off. It was funny, but we're starting to remember, you know, what
mhm.
we lost before and who we are. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Everybody else knew they have all their stuff in the Vatican, all these different places. They know who we are. They know
they know.
we're asleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they've been just emulating and imitating us for the longest time in every aspect. But we
Yeah.
finally starting to get it, and I love it.
That's me too. And it's like that was one of the kind of the taglines for Goddess Minds is guiding you back to the remembrance of who you are. And it's like
Hmm.
because who you already it's already in you. You just have to
Hmm.
remember who you are. You're not making anybody new. You are bringing out the true you, your higher self. And
Hmm.
something you mentioned when you talked about the Vatican, and it just made me think of the spell that we're under. And a lot of times that those spells that are created with our words, the words that we speak in the language that was created. And when between ages from third grade to eighth grade, I went to a Christian school and they had us learn Latin. And I never understood it. And I used to, like I hated it. I'm like, this language is so weird. And now I understand because a lot of the
Hmm.
English words are actually their roots are in Latin. And
Latin, exactly.
they a lot of times things they mean different things, and it's like so when you are saying words that you don't know the meanings of, you're basically feeding the energy of the intention behind the person that created that word,
Exactly.
spell that's
Hmm.
on that word, and feeding it. So I'm like, they were very masterful in how
Oh
they
yeah.
kept us in a slumber, right? But you have to
Yeah.
think about it, we willingly kind of gave that up too.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, you are a god. How
Hmm.
did you lose that power? Did you
Hmm.
become that lax that you just kind of gave it up? Or
Hmm.
did you say, okay, you know what, maybe I want to see what it feels like to kind of be on the bottom, or did you just fall asleep? Like, so
Hmm.
those are the questions I have. Like, how did we lose that power and why? If you were a
Hmm.
God and you were sitting here, right,
Hmm.
and you could see, you understand, how did you
Yeah.
give that?
Well, the same thing we talk about like reincarnation, there's always cycles. You know what I mean? There's always cycles of the universe, there's cycles of energy, like just dealing with like etheric energy. You can go from a zero ether all up to the nine, which is the highest power of nine, nine. And then through time, that nine ether, that full God energy, it dies and becomes lesser etheric, just like anything else. You know what I mean? Just like a caterpillar and a butterfly. So, we were supposed to fall for that time frame just to be
Yeah,
reborn again. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So yeah, it's a cycle. Everything cycles.
The cycle, yeah.
The,
Cyclical
the
slope.
only thing, the only thing about us is that in our time frame is that our cycle of being on top and being on bottom is very, it's very. You're talking millions of years. It's just uh, you look talking about millions of years just us being on this planet, literally, with nobody here. You know what I'm saying? We know about that, but just because of the fact of a lot of people can't even live on this planet, if they don't have melanin, and they had, different cycles and when the sun was closer and it was hotter and all these different things. But our time frame of us being asleep, if you think about it, it hasn't been that long.
It's very short. It's really like a
Yeah,
millisecond when you really
yeah,
think
exactly.
about the grand scheme of things. Yes.
Hmm.
So that I do agree with, and I don't know. Sometimes, like, and this is just me coming off the top, like just thinking, like, sometimes I feel like you have to see what it feels like to be low in order to
Hmm.
really appreciate where
Hmm.
you were, right? Like to now, like, okay, the next chance we get, we not giving that up, right? That's how I feel. Like I get that
Yeah.
there's cycles, but it's like I feel like we're at this place now where we're taking back because we realize
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to how to govern this, how to do this. We gonna take back
Hmm.
our and yeah. So I mean, I'm ready for it. I'm
Yeah,
ready for
yeah, yeah, yeah. The caterpillar has to crawl before it becomes a butterfly. You know what I'm
it.
saying? The
Yeah.
phoenix goes into the ashes and is reborn. You know what I'm saying? So but so how did you said something about like previously you were talking about rituals that you use now. These rituals are these rituals you made up? Are did you take these things from like the Bible or different things?
Yeah.
And how do you utilize these rituals, in your practice?
So these are simple rituals that most people who do like shadow work and things of that sort most likely
Hmm.
do. Nothing new is because what I realize it's not even necessarily the ritual that's helping you. It's the consistency and the discipline, right? And then that
Hmm.
ritual kind of helps to fuel your belief. So something really, really simple that I like to do when I have the women in my group do is when we first start, when we're detoxing and then we have a release, right? So we do a release letter and we write down everything that you don't want to take with you that no longer serves you. And so what happens is when you're putting your energy in that pen and you're putting it onto paper, you're actually
Mm,
giving life to that thing, right?
mm,
And so as you put that on the paper and then you finish that, you then now burn it and you're releasing that energy, you're transmuting that
mm,
energy into the ether, but it's no longer serving you. So it's even though it's a simple ritual, I'm sure many
mhm,
people are going to burn a release letter, but and I've had many. I had to just finish my beta test group, and I had many ladies in there. They've done it before, but they were like, it was something different about
mhm,
this. They were like, I don't know if it was the energy behind it or just the group, but it was different, right?
mhm,
And it has a lot to do with that as well. Like if
mhm,
your mind, the way that you're thinking and your intentions that you set for it, will change it, right? But it's
mhm.
just transmuting energy. So these rituals kind of they transmute energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right. Now, have you like ever had any type of I'm not gonna say out of body experiences, but like any metaphysical events that have happened in your life that kind of shown you that yes, there is a different side and there's more than all of this. Have you ever had any?
So as a child, I call them night tremors. I used to get night tremors, and it used to be the same scene all over, but I would have snakes and spiders that would fall on me, and then I would be in this desert scene. And what was very interesting to me, just recently, I found out about Renute. I think it is
Mm-hmm.
Renute, which is a snake goddess or
Mm-hmm.
something. If I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
And it instantly clicked to me because I was like, I was scared of what I was seeing, but I was supposed to push deeper into it, but I didn't know. And
Mm.
so with
Hmm.
my mother being a Christian, we just prayed it away, right? So I didn't really go into it to really open up that realm, but I felt like she was coming through me, and
Hmm.
somebody had given me the name Mott, which was probably about 8 months ago. And Mott, I resonate with very heavily because it's the balance, it's the justice. Like I've been that
Hmm.
way all my life.
Yeah.
And so when I learned that those snakes were almost a representation of Renu, and Renu is said to be with Maat at times, it all
Hmm.
just came full
One
circle
in
and
it.
clicked. Ah,
Mhm.
okay, all right. I'm probably saying the name wrong too, so
No,
don't
it's
worry.
cool. Yeah, we got you. Well, us that know, we know where you're going with it, so you're
Yeah,
good.
that's what you're saying. But it helped me to see that I was connected to Maat as well. And even though I
Hmm.
felt it, I actually had more proof too for myself that I was
Hmm.
connected. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty heavy. So so you did the mm, so how are you empowering yourself now? Because you're at a point now in which you went through all of this. You're able to find out what works to assist others. Like, so where are you at now with all this?
I'm still a work in progress. Like I still every
Hmm.
day have to make sure that I stay consistent and even do what I do. And as I help others heal, I heal too. And
Hmm.
different levels are uncovered, and I'm
Hmm.
able to even see other things that I didn't even know were underneath those layers because we heal in layers, right? Like an onion, and things get peeled back. So that's why I always say I'm a guide. I'm not a teacher. I don't want to be anybody's teacher because I'm still learning too.
Still
And
learning. Yeah.
but I can guide you based off of what I've been through. And
Hmm.
then we can also learn together. And for me, it's more of saying, you know what, I can't sit on the knowledge that I have, the wisdom that I have, and continue to think that things are gonna go the way that I want them, right? Like when
Hmm.
you have gone through certain things and you get wisdom, you get knowledge, it's your responsibility to then now go out and help others in some way. It doesn't mean you're going to be a coach or a guide, but you need to be able to utilize the information that we're given, so that others can grow from you, right? Um,
Hmm.
a lot of times when in the spiritual realm, I always feel like different healers or light workers, you go through a lot in order to be able to be kind of like the blueprint or the guide. And a lot of people don't see the time you spend alone, the time you spend in meditation and prayer and the tears and all that other stuff that you've gone through to get to the understanding because
Hmm.
it's sometimes it's hard and it's like
Yeah.
you have a battle going on even in your mind. They call it the battlefield of the mind,
Hmm.
right? Like you're warring against yourself a lot, and a lot of times those
Hmm.
light workers you war even more, right?
Yeah.
And you have
Empaths.
yeah, people expect you to be like, I won't say perfect, but they expect you to, once you get to a certain level, to not have any slip ups or not have any, downs or negative things that go on. But it's like you're still a human being too, right? You're still your spiritual being having a human experience, but you're still battling that humanness, right? You haven't really fully reached that full pinnacle where you're like, I'm full God, right? So
Hmm.
um, for me, I'm just empowered by it. I continue to listen. Like I listen to people like 19 Keys and his brother Ampu, Bashir, Blue Pill. Like that mindset, I keep myself surrounded by people that are going to only speak life into me. I've learned that
Yeah,
even music,
I
like
agree.
I don't listen to the radio. I only
Hmm.
listen to certain music because I keep my vibration high because I want to stay in a
Exactly.
frequency of that which I want, right?
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of times people think, oh, I can, it's not that serious. I can listen to this stuff
Mm-mm.
or I can watch Basketball Wives. How can you sit there and watch Basketball Wives and expect to have a great relationship when half the time that
Hmm.
man is always cheating? It don't work
They're
like that.
weaponizing it. Yeah, they're weaponizing it. Yep, you're right. Every aspect of media weaponizing it. Yep.
It is, and it's like they don't call them programs for nothing. Like we've heard these sayings, things like all the time, but it just sometimes goes in one ear and out the other. And to me, this
Hmm.
is why it's so important to detox and to fast and to change your eating
Hmm.
habits because a lot of times you can't even hear the truth because you're literally not even human. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
you're like a parasite, right?
A cheeseburger.
You're just the avatar, right? But the parasite is
Yeah.
really moving through you. And so, yeah, it's just things like that. It's just keeping my spirit high, making sure that I'm only putting in things that are feeding me to where I want to go.
Hmm. So people expect you to when you go to the store to just go ahead and levitate to the store. You don't have to get in your car, nothing. You don't gotta
One
do
of them
nothing.
days, that's gonna happen.
I know I save gas on that. Good gracious. I'm
Yes,
gonna say
please.
start levitating more often.
No
You
levitating,
know.
but I'm because I'm a Capricorn too, so we're very private. Like we're not gonna really
Hmm.
tell our business. You won't know if we're going through anything, like if we're really struggling or not. And
Hmm.
um, a lot of times, people just they're gonna tell you their problems. Like, at least for me, they gravitate to kind of tell me how they're feeling, and which I love, and it's
Hmm.
cool. But I don't necessarily really feel like I can do that with
Hmm.
others. 'Cause I feel like I have to be okay. I have to be strong. So it's like I go and meditate or I go and pray or whatever.
Hmm.
That's who I tell it to myself and I write it down and that's that. So
It is it. I'm trying to phrase this question right. Like dealing with some of these a lot of your students or your pupils, whatever you want to call them, the individuals you're looking for knowledge. It's like this is kind of a two-part question. When did you realize how serious life was? First off, you know what I mean? Like how this is like this ain't what you signed up for as far as the American dream, just going to school and college and all that kind of crazy stuff. When did you like kind of figure it out, and how do you convey that message to these other individuals that might not have it yet?
mm. So for me, I will say I always understood that there was more than this.
Hmm.
This is one of the reasons why I did like 2 semesters of college and I was like, this ain't for me. And because I was like, I don't want to I always pushed against authority that I felt like was unfair or unjust. And that's just
Hmm.
always been in me. It's another reason why I resonate heavily with my op. And so for me, this is kind of has always been me. It's like it's just I'm not new to it. Kind of I feel like I'm
Yeah.
true to that. That's just who
Yeah.
I am. So when it comes to helping other people, it's it's easy, but it's sometimes hard too because I think a lot of times people say they want help, but they really don't.
Yeah.
Uh, they say they have questions that they really don't want answers to
Hmm.
because it requires them to do something. And a lot
Yeah.
of times that is hard, right? It's
Yeah.
not easy. If it was easy, then you would have already done it and you wouldn't be coming to me or anybody else for help, right? You would already have the answer. But I think the biggest thing is trying to get people to realize that it's not like the microwave society that we have where they
Yeah.
want everything now. Like things take work, things take time, and it's only going to change if you
You
change
change it.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
can give you everything. I can be there for you every time you call me. But if you're not doing the work, how do you know if anything that I'm offering you is really going to work? You
Yeah.
don't, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, some people they get a program and they're like, oh, that don't work. Well, did you actually do anything? Did you
Hmm.
actually follow the program to see if it worked? And so in convincing them, I can't convince anybody. They
Hmm.
have to want it, and that's why like I'm not for everybody because I'm for the woman who has either wants to be on that spiritual journey or has been on it and wants to go deeper. And so she
Hmm.
understands that there is work that is required in order for her to get to the next level. And she's okay with that, but she's looking for that accountability, that sisterhood that is going to be there for her, someone who can relate to maybe some of the things that she's experiencing in the metaphysical world that other people don't understand or relate to. So that's who I'm for. I'm not for the person that's just like, oh, I want to see if this works or not. No, you got to be invested in yourself, and I can't
Yeah.
do it for you. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, and that's so true. That's
Mhm.
that's about as true as you can get dealing with, and it's really interesting because prior you were talking about shadow work, and I kind of want to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Even in more detail, because um, for the people that don't know what shadow work is, could you first off, and I'm gonna go after that, could you explain what shadow work is?
Yeah. So my understanding of shadow work is basically going within to the deep dark places that are inside of you. So you are dealing with, I call it the carnal mind and your spiritual mind, right? And the carnal mind is going to give you the negative side or aspects of what you're feeling and dealing with. So shadow work for me is really a lot of journaling. It's a lot of questions to figure out what's going inside. It might be mirror work where I am speaking into myself in the mirror because a lot of people have a hard time looking at themselves. So
Hmm.
many people don't even look in the mirror and say, I love you. And can't even say, my name's Nubia, so I love you, Nubia.
Hmm.
It's uncomfortable. And so that's part of shadow work too. It's really just getting to know yourself and writing down those feelings and going through um, all the stages and being truthful, right? Because a lot of
Hmm.
times we don't want to say the truth of really how we feel. We kind of want to sugarcoat it. But when you write it down and you're like, okay, I'm not going to have any pretenses. I'm not going to judge myself right now. I'm just going to write how I'm feeling so
Hmm.
you can really see the truth. That's how you're able to kind of have those breakthroughs.
Is it so? What a part of shadow work would you say was like maybe if you have a therapist that you go to kind of deal with that situation, or is it more so like more so like just a personal thing that you're dealing with, or can it be external at all?
See, I haven't used it externally, but I mean, you can go to a therapist, but I always
Yeah,
feel like you really need to go with them. But a therapist is going to be able, if they know shadow work and they can really guide you, then they can
yeah.
at least guide you to go within. But
Hmm.
anybody that is worth anything is going to, and who's guiding you is going to make you go within.
Yeah,
They're not going
exactly.
to convince you that you can get it by coming to them. That's why you have people going to therapists for years upon years and no change because
Hmm.
they think the therapist is going to save them, but it's really
Hmm.
themselves that they have to sit with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's real talk. And it's really interesting because like a lot of people have different, there's different ways. Some people use, like Chief Nighthawk was talking about how people like to use cybercillin, entheogens, and different ways
Mhm.
to really attack that stuff. You know what I mean? And some people like to go different routes. But excuse me. But it just seems like as long as you're able to, regardless how you do it, as long as you're able to face those demons, so to speak, and it can literally, it can be one of the most difficult things, that you could ever imagine, but also the most fulfilling and rewarding once you go through it.
Yeah.
Because, like you said earlier, you got to put work in. Nobody's gonna give you nothing, especially in this, in this place, on
I
any
just
aspect,
wanna
physically, materially, or spiritually. Nobody gonna give you nothing. You got to work for it. And you know, and I have to again, I'm gonna keep on doing this. I have to applaud you, all these other beautiful brothers and sisters that are here to help heal us because that is just what's needed right now. You know what I mean? And just from this crazy world we're living in, and imagine, like we all have, you get, you just think that like you said, you're in this American dream, so to speak, and next thing you realize it's all a lie. You know
all
what I
around.
mean? And you know what I mean? It's all literally all a lie. And this world is nothing that was presented to you before. That's like in the Matrix when that guy said, like what a mind fuck. You know what I mean? Like literally, what
Seriously.
I mean, that's not easy. And
No.
some people, can't come back from that. In all honesty, you know what I mean?
Some
You
people
know?
won't even go down the rabbit hole once they start to learn, learn even the way that how we were given up our birthrights
Hmm.
at birth.
Yeah,
Our parents
exactly,
signed over
exactly.
our birth certificates. Like if you even start going down that route, you're
I know
like, wait,
exactly.
like, is anything real? And so,
Exactly,
you
exactly.
know,
No, that's true. That's real true. Like right from the jump, they start working. You were literally, just like Khalil just said. The Matrix, just like the movie The Matrix, exactly like the movie The Matrix. You know what I'm saying? You as soon as you sign off, you are, that energy, that straw man. That fake entity that they're
yeah,
sucking that energy from. You know what I mean? And it's deep, but it's it's also just interesting when we're just talking about how externally once you go in externally, how deep the rabbit hole really goes. You know what I mean? And on all levels, some people like to do the psychedelic thing, some people like to do the meditation thing, whatever the case may be. But regardless, once you really connect to your soul, because your soul is, it's been around for a very long time. You know what I
Eternal.
mean? So you get a hold of that, you connect with that, your heart and your soul. You know what I'm saying? And you're ancient.
Hmm.
You
Absolutely. Your
know?
your soul is eternal. You are ancient. I mean, there are some people that are on this earth that are babies that haven't been here that long, but then there's some of
Yeah,
us that have been here, millions of
exactly,
years. So, and I feel like those are the ones that are here to raise the collective consciousness, right?
exactly,
And
exactly.
you mentioned, mushrooms and so
Hmm.
I always say it wrong. Someone say mushrooms, but I
I
strongly
won't get
believe
mad at you. Don't worry.
anybody who's having a spiritual awakening or is trying to do shadow work, I really strongly believe they try plant medicine, just because of the healing properties, and it allows you to go deeper. It allows you to really kind of see into yourself the way
Yeah,
that you can get there through meditation, but it's going to take a lot longer. You might have to turn into a
yeah,
monk, but
exactly.
that the mushrooms, the medicine, it gives you what you need if you respect it, and it's very
Yeah,
safe. So it's something that I really advocate for in a way. Like if
yeah,
you, but you
hmm,
got to be ready, because some people
yeah,
aren't ready
yeah,
for it, and they can end up having a really bad trip because you're going to bring any whatever intention that you have on it, you're going to bring into
hmm,
that trip, right?
exactly.
You're nervous,
Yeah,
it's going to be probably not such a good trip for you, but
hmm,
it does help a lot. It does.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. It's interesting just because all of these teachers that spent like Baba Kalina, et cetera, and when they start, even some of my, like I was talking about last night, some of my master teachers, like they started to show me how all the stuff that we just see as nature is actually technology. You know what I mean? And we just think, oh, you got to have a computer to do this. You got to do all this stuff. And like, I mean, we were last night, we were kind of joking about like, they have to do CERN, get the CERN machine to do what they're doing. But all we got
Mhm.
to do is get some, six, nine sisters, in a circle, chanting and doing, doing what you think. And, you can start a portal. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's what we used to do,
Yeah.
and it's just, it's an amazing day and time we're living in. You know what I'm saying? And again, like I said, kudos to you for you being here, manifesting here, and choosing this mission. I like to say, for this day and time, to help heal us and bring us back. Because you know, to me, I think that all of this pushback in combating against what is inevitable, I think it's funny. You know what I mean? Because nothing's ever going to stop what's inevitable. Nothing's going to ever stop, our ancestors, you know what I'm saying, our descendants, being descendant beings coming down, whatever, however you want to look at it, nothing cannot stop that. It's just, because we created all of it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a difference between mindsets between individuals that think they can stop that as opposed to people knowing that it's inevitable.
And I don't even think those individuals really think they can stop it. Is
Hmm.
they're just hoping that they can keep us blind enough to keep us from knowing that we already won, right? Because the
Yeah.
battle is already won. We're just
Yeah.
literally walking it out. We
Hmm.
still have to fight, but it's already won. It's like I
Hmm.
always liken it to you know how you would pay a fighter to kind of like to blow a fight,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you already know you go into the fight. I'm already winning this because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of still
Hmm.
go out and play the game. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what it's like to me. Like you said, the world, the place that we're in, it's really a good time that we're in right now, even though it
Yes.
doesn't look that way, because it lets
Hmm.
us know that okay, that shift is really happening. The
Hmm.
queen passed away, so well, their queen, and that marks a huge shift, right? And the energy that I've been feeling behind that is like, okay, things are really truly truly shifting, even though
Hmm.
we've been in the age of Aquarius for a while, at least
Yeah.
from my understanding of it, which is our age. So we we're on the rise. We're just people are slowly waking up, but I think it's
Yeah.
starting to actually speed up more.
Hmm.
There's
I agree.
conversations were not being had as much, even like 5 or 10 years ago. You had
Exactly.
groups of people that were, talking about it, but like there's a lot more people that are interested in things of the spirit and connecting to themselves, plant medicine,
Exactly.
and that's what we need, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and I read a bunch of articles, and like, going back to what we were saying earlier about a lot of folks like leaving religion because of everything we're talking about now. They're like, yo, this, the illest recruiters out there ever. You know what I'm saying? They recruiting on every aspect, every corner, like
Mhm.
nonstop. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of folks are just like, nah, I don't like, just like you said earlier, this don't make no sense.
Yeah.
Man, I talk about my book when I was when I was an altar boy, when I was young. I used to be walking down with that crucifix, and I look at those pictures on the side. I was
Mhm.
like, something said to me that's something. My mom was like, this some bullshit right here. I don't know what is all this crazy stuff. And the people, and I was right. Later on, you know, 15 years later, whatever the case may be, I'm like, yo, this was some bullshit. This all some bullshit, you know. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is so does my cat, as you can see, Raquel, she agrees too. But
Oh,
this is an interesting day and time, and you have to have the right perspective and mindset to really see what's going on
yeah.
with all this trickery that they put on. I'll be tripping all the time because like, and I don't, I'll say that, how in the world do we have 2 years of everyday fear tactics? Oh, this is blah 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 blah, and next thing you know, it's like a switch was made. Oh, now it's a war.
Yeah, because it's the mind fuckery, but it just shows you the mindset, the power of persuasion, and the
Mm-hmm.
subliminal messaging, and it's called mnemonics. I'm probably saying that wrong. I need to,
Mm-hmm.
but it's basically the power of mind control and suggestion and the things that they do, which is why you have people that still walk around with masks on, even though they already proved that that mask was not going to help you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have people lining up one behind each other in the grocery store when there's three lines open, but they're so programmed to get in line behind each other that
Yeah.
it's just that sheep mentality. And there are a lot walking
Yeah.
around, dead man walking.
Yeah.
They don't, yeah.
I had to come to the realization, even with our folks, you know what I'm saying? Well, your folks, not my folks. No, I'm just playing. But even with our, don't put them on me. Even with our folks, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's not supposed to make it. You know what I mean? And I had to realize that some time ago, you know, um, and in realizing that, it made things much easier to look and just realize what the situation is going on in the world right now, and just dealing with, even you got people in your family that just don't get it, close people that you might even grew up best friends. They like, oh, that you talking that voodoo talk, girl, you know what I'm saying, and you're like, what I'm saying, I love you, sis, but
Hey, listen, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But
quite
we just
simply.
have to distance ourselves a little bit. Um, but no, you were saying something about yeah, they just gonna have to get it. Like if you people that don't kind of get it, it's like people always say, "Oh, well, I'm chosen, right?" Well, you choose to be
Hmm.
chosen, right? It's
Yeah,
like not
exactly.
like somebody handpicked you and said, "Oh, you're the golden child." No, you choose to
Hmm.
be chosen. You choose to wake up.
Hmm.
And some people, they've heard the truth, but they're still asleep, right? And they choose to be asleep because, oh, I don't want to go down that road. But everyone has a chance to choose,
Yeah.
and so we're going to make it because not everybody has the discipline or the willpower to want to make it,
Hmm.
and that's okay, right? It's
Yeah.
like, and Bobby Hemmett helped me realize that it's like some you're not here to save everybody.
Yeah.
You're here really to save yourself. Now, anybody
Hmm.
who sees what you're doing and can get some guidance from that, great. But it ain't your job to save humanity in a way. It's like it's just your job to collectively raise your own consciousness and
Hmm.
in the light, and then let that be infectious enough to kind of spark change in other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a biblically speaking, at the end times, they say that the 144,000 people, you know what I'm saying, or would be taken up in the Crystal City, et cetera, all that good stuff. Out of what, 7 billion on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very small ratio, you know what I mean?
Very.
And and so it's that's another thing I was going to say is that what kind of piggyback what you're saying is that these people maybe it's not even their lifetime to even figure it out yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I
And
mean? So that's
understanding, yeah, where we're all at, collectively.
yeah,
Saying it's like I said, some are still babies. Some are.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
You mentioned something about the 144,000, and for me, the way that I look at it is
Mhm.
that 144,000 are the rulers, and
Mhm.
that's how I see it. Um,
Mhm.
that's just what resonates with my spirit because you know how it says that there's the 13th tribe of Shabazz, right? And it's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
those who are taken up to that crystal city are because there's still government in place, there's still checks and balances, and there still has to be a ruling class no matter what. There's
Mhm.
always going to be rulers on the earth. And so when I hear about the 144,000, those were of the tribes, and to me, those are the original the rulers.
Mhm.
That's just my take on it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's a in your multiverse, in your in your universe, it might make perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? It might be the truth. Hey, who
Might
knows?
we never know, right?
You never know. You know what I'm saying? I'll go to your one day. I'll once I learn to levitate better, I'm gonna go to that multiverse and see if you're right or wrong. You know?
Seriously, or astral travel on over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, either way. But yeah, but that's heavy. Yeah, and it's it's very important, I guess, just in saying all that, that we just really do our best to see, what life is about and how, I mean, for lack of better terms, how deep the rabbit hole really goes. You know what I'm saying? Because it never ends. I'm realizing now that, and I talk about my book. I for years when I started getting this information, when I started getting all this information from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. York, and all these individuals, I was just sitting. I'd run home from work and I just smoke a blunt and just read. I'd be like, I mean, just stuck in a room, just. I mean, I did that for years, just book after book. Ugh, like I go, I need another book, like a book junkie. You know what I'm saying? But the reality to all that is that that should never stop.
It
You know
never
what I'm
you'll
saying?
never
Not,
stop reading books
yeah,
of that.
it should never stop until transition from this third dimension and whatever, however you want to say it. That thirst for knowledge. You slow down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But we never stop learning. This is our
Right.
school. Just like we were talking about school earlier. Bump, all that. I mean, it's cool if you go to college. Don't get it twisted and all the good degrees. You can do all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
But the real school is this school of life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm
That's the
saying?
best school
That
that there is. Honestly,
that's
that's school.
it. That's it.
That's where
You know
you
what I'm
really
saying?
the truth, the wisdom. Like I can learn something, but it doesn't mean I really know it. And until
Yeah.
you have that experience, you really can't teach it. Like, and there's plenty of
Mhm.
people that teach and have never done, but they don't
Mhm.
make as big an impact as someone who's had experience and can then now go out
Exactly.
and so
Speculative as opposed to operative,
yeah.
as the brothers in the craft would say. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's dope. So what you got going on now? Are you doing like lectures? Are you doing events? What do you have going on now?
Well, right now I'm writing this book and I'm finishing this book so that I can
Okay.
get it out there. That's kind of what I've been doing. Every once in a while, somebody will reach out to me to speak on like a live or a clubhouse or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I'm open to speaking, but right now I'm kind of in that building phase. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm on my it's funny because I was about to put out my second book, but then I just for a while just kept on writing, and I'm like looking at what's going on in the world. I'm like, damn, I need to take all that stuff and write some other stuff and put it all together as opposed to just putting out what I was gonna do before. So people keep asking me, yeah, it's the second book's coming, but it ain't gonna be like the first book. It's gonna be a lot more, and it ain't gonna be as is happy is the first one. I'm warning y'all now.
No more.
The shadow, the shadow, the shadow, the shadow Zoe is coming through on this boy. Y'all gonna hear some
Mm.
stuff. But anyway, that's a different story. But but yeah, okay. So you're writing a book, and you can't give the is any title or anything that any
I
working
mean,
titles.
I do have a working title, The God Frequency.
Okay, all right,
That's the working title. Um, yeah, so I've been playing around with that title.
okay. That sounds like a good title. But okay, well, I'm gonna say it was this was an amazing conversation. You know what I'm saying? You definitely are on the right path and on everything you're doing. And like I said, kudos for you and all the rest of you light workers that are helping heal us. Um, w- and if you are watching this, please, I put all the information in the description. You can contact her that way. Please follow the good sister. You know what I'm saying, and follow the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. And besides that, anything else you want to build on, or?
No, I actually just want to thank you as well for extending the platform. It was a beautiful build, great conversation. I always love the questions that you asked. The first podcast I saw you on was, I know I'm going to butcher her name, but I think it was Arcacia or Keisha.
Oh yeah.
And I just love the way that the questions that you had. Where I'm like, man, he knows how to keep it flowing. So I want to give you your flowers and kudos to you as well.
I appreciate that. I definitely do appreciate it. I like, see, us nerds got to stick together. So, you know what I'm saying? So, the more nerdy you are, the more I'm gonna go down the nerd rabbit hole. So I appreciate that. So, besides
Awesome.
that, please follow and like the sister.
Please,
Follow and like the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this as well. Get this all over this amazing build. And again, if you haven't already, please go to polka.rabbitpodcast.com and pick up the book. Besides
yes.
that, peace and love to everybody, ascension, gratitude, and y'all have a wonderful night. I'm coming right back tomorrow night with another episode with brother was it Wade McGee talking about sobriety, talking about like disease and a whole bunch of different things that a lot of us go through, a lot of challenges we had. So it's going to be amazing. So, please follow this young lady, and peace and love, everybody. Ascension, gratitude, all that good stuff. Peace.
Peace.